In another world, in another time, the DC Universe looks very different than what we know. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Dark Knights of Steel, a brand new medieval maxi series from Tom Taylor, and find out what happens next, shall we? So then, stop me if you've heard this one before. In times long past, there was once a planet called Krypton that met with a horrifying end, but before everything went dark, loving parents Jor-El and Lara were able to spirit away their final son to planet Earth. Only wait, this is where the story starts to get different. You see, in this version of the story, Jor-El was actually able to build an escape pod big enough for his entire family, meaning they all make it to Earth safe and sound, and Lara gives birth to Kal-El there. While the loving family is super stoked to not have been exploded with the rest of their planet, they unfortunately come to Earth at the worst possible time. It would seem that the local populace has been held in the grips of paranoia and fear ever since the great prophecy that foretold the coming of demons. And when a bunch of oddly dressed strangers fall from the sky, you better believe the local peasantry assumes that these guys must be demons. What they couldn't know, though, is that Earth's yellow sun gave Jor-El the power to toast them all with his laser vision. Flash forward a number of years in the future, and it seems that this prophecy is still holding strong. We see King Jefferson, yes, that's right, my king is Black Lightning and my Lambo is blue, is leading an entire inquisition into those he believes to be touched by dark powers, and helping him out along the way is that Constantine boy who is currently tripping balls and seeing all sorts of magical visions involving the end times. Now, Black Lightning isn't the only one hunting people with strange abilities either. You see, from there we transition on over to Bruce Wayne, the bastard Prince of Bats, who is heading out into the field to try and apprehend a Banshee, a creature of evil magical power that they feel could very well threaten the kingdom and the castle of El. Prince Cal wants to join his friend Bruce, but he's ultimately rebuked, saying that the king and queen want him to remain behind where he can be safe. And honestly, that kind of makes sense too. If we are dealing with the capital M type of magic we know is one of the few things that can hurt Kryptonians, and probably why they care about it so much. Batman won't be doing this alone, though. He's dispatched his Robins to scout out the tavern where they think the Banshee might be hiding out, and honestly, having sidekicks makes a lot more sense in a medieval context. They're not just period-accurate child soldiers, they're the Dark Knight's actual squires. In fact, calling them Robins even makes a lot of sense too. A Robin is a little bird told me, another shorthand for spy work and subterfuge. It all tracks. Bruce manages to corner the Banshee, and well, first I thought it was the supervillain Silver Banshee. It turns out it's actually just a Dark Ages version of Black Canary. Prince Batman is working under the assumption that a magical assassin is heading into these parts to try and do harm to the king and queen, but Dinah swears up and down that that's not her and that she has nothing to do with the mysterious green man in the forest who's been making trouble for Prince Batman and Castle El. Sadly, the Darkest of Nights has already made up his mind, which means Black Canary is forced to fight her way out by using her incredibly powerful Banshee Scream, which, while it destroys the entire tavern, doesn't actually hurt Batman himself all that much, which is pretty amazing. It's at this point Prince Cal ends up making his grand reappearance. Yes, he didn't listen to Bruce or his parents and decided to come along on this adventure anyway, and it's a good thing he did too, because he's actually able to take Black Canary out without having to kill her. The two princes do feel a little awkward though on their way back to the kingdom, knowing full well that the king and queen are gonna chew them out for their actions. It's here too we see that the castle jester just so happens to be Harley Quinn, because of course the castle jester would be Harley Quinn. Hey, fun fact, did you know in the Middle Ages a jester was the only person who was actually allowed to mock the ruling class without fear of execution? It's true, most were actually learned people themselves, excommunicated monks and the like. Now it's right around here we get a fun little glimpse into the relationship between the two princes here. Bruce actually goes out of his way to try and protect Cal, saying that it was his fault, but Prince Cal says of course he went on his own and Bruce had no idea. It seems that ever since the old monarch the Waynes were killed, King Jor-El and Queen Lara adopted Bruce and raised him alongside their own son as if he was their own. In fact, if Jor-El could have it his way, he would much rather have Bruce be sitting on the throne right now, but it's kind of hard to convince the peasants that you're not right to lead in an age of divine rights of kings, when you are literally a nigh-immortal being from the stars who can level entire armies with only a glance. It would seem that Prince Bruce is also quite the traditionalist who saying that he can never be king because of his status as a bastard. It's because of that Jor-El asks him to take a little walk. You see, as King Jor-El explains it, while Bruce Wayne is indeed a bastard child, it's not because his father was screwing around on his mother. In fact, it's actually the other way around completely. Yes, that's right, Bruce the bastard Prince of Bats is actually half Kryptonian and has the blood of kings in him quite literally. Well, geez, that's a major revelation. Nothing could make this more awkward, well, except for the fact that it's at that point a magic green arrow is fired from the forest and ends up striking and killing the king. Wow, doesn't matter what universe or what timeline we're in, Batman has to be there when one of his parents gets killed, am I right? And it's on that note right there the comic comes to a close, everyone. And so that was Dark Knights of Steel issue number 1, and I must say I love everything that's getting thrown down here. In fact, I'd argue this series is yet another notch in the belt of Tom Taylor, the man who is clearly the undisputed king of DC Elseworld stories right now in the modern age. He really makes it look easy, does he not? Most writers would probably have just rested on their laurels when they said, hey, let's do a story with DC characters and maybe imagine what they would be like in a Dark Ages context. But this story goes in several different directions that I wouldn't be expecting. Hey, what if Jor-El and Lara lived? What if there was a battle going on between magic and Kryptonians? Hell, what is even the line between those who have traditional metahuman powers and magical forces? Is there a difference in this world? Are people smart enough to riddle it out? I don't know. It's also so great to see characters like Black Lightning and Black Canary, who don't really get the spotlight in the main universe, get such points of prominence here in this story. Throw in some truly creative and kick-ass artwork from Yasmin Putri and you got yourselves a recipe for a real winner. I would give this first issue a 9 out of 10, and I cannot wait to see where the story goes from here.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Jewel, and if you're seeing me right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, which I am very appreciative of. It really helps drive engagement and retention and all that other good YouTube stuff. So does liking and commenting. Wink wink. If you like my content too, you should check out my Patreon page. We just redid all the tiers, so there's a ton of great rewards. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month, and well, it would just really help me out. It's never expected, but always appreciated. So until next time, everyone, I've been Cape Joel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.